Hello, YouTube. Today is International Sex Worker Rights Day, March the 3rd. I know when you're seeing this, it's March the 4th, but I'm nocturnal, so to me, it's still March the 3rd, and I'm sure many sex workers feel the same way. To me, what does sex workers' rights mean? To me. All this stuff we talk about. The class warfare. The religious right, the reproductive rights, the efforts of people to control our sexuality. If all this stuff, oh, I gotta sneeze. Hold on. Sorry. If all this stuff is the issues, shit rolls downhill. And because a lot of sex workers, the majority of sex workers in the world, go into sex work because they have no other choice or for survival. And we're talking about third world countries and everything. The sex workers are at the bottom of that hill. When you talk about poverty, you take that to its greatest extreme and you'll find sex workers there. You talk about, class warfare. Sex workers are often the ones that even the people on the receiving end of that class warfare, the middle class, the working class, the poverty class, a lot of times those people even look down on sex workers. We are the people that a lot of times, even people who are paid to care, get away with not caring about us. People who are paid to protect people get away with abusing us. So in many ways, we are one of the pariahs of the world. And so sex workers' rights is, when you have a class of people that nobody cares about, the only safety they find is in the other people who are there with them, in their unity. Their safety in numbers is sometimes all they have. So to celebrate International Sex Worker Rights Day, I am going to tell you what my community here, the sex workers here on YouTube, have meant to me. Amy is not around much. But do not make the mistake of thinking that because she's not active on YouTube or talking about it or doing her activism or advocacy in this way, that she is not very active in the fight. In fact, Amy is probably, of all of us, the one who is most on the front lines of the fight. I'm not going to go into detail about what that is. That's not my place. And I don't even know that I could talk about it. But When the time is right, she'll tell us. And you'll probably be very surprised. She shares a channel with, she shares the Ye Old Heretic channel with Laurel. Amy is a very kind person. I don't know Amy very well, and I wish I did, but I understand she's very busy, and I look up to her. You know, I don't know Laurel very, very well. I know her a little better than Amy, but I have a lot of respect for Laurel. And the times when it has been very hard here for me because of a certain person, Laurel's support and her insight is one of the reasons that I'm still here right now. Laurel is the sex worker among us who really spent the most significant, I mean, the greatest amount of time as a dominatrix. So, yeah, probably going to be getting a lot more subs after this video. Yeah, she is a dominatrix. I'm sure she has very interesting stories if you can get her to tell them. I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't know. But Laurel is a very warm person. And she's a day person. She like wakes up at 5 o'clock and shit. You know, lives on a farm. And, you know, wakes up early and like goes outside in the sun and works and stuff. I don't know. She's crazy. She's crazy. I don't know what's wrong with her. But, yeah. So, thank you for everything that you've helped me through, Laurel. I can't go into as much detail as I would like, but know that you are special to me. Dynamite Ruby, also known as the Crypt Queen. Dynamite Ruby is the sex worker among us, or the former sex worker among us, who is lesbian. She is an atheist, and some people have tried to say that she's not really a sex worker because she was actually a phone sex operator. But that's just not true. Because, you know, even though Ruby didn't do a kind of sex work that involved actual physical contact, Ruby went through something that a lot of that sex workers all throughout history have gone through, at least since Christianity. You see, Ruby went into phone sex because she was having a very difficult time financially. And the only help she could find was from a religious-based NGO. And I'm sorry, I apologize to anyone if I get any of your stories wrong, just to let you know. And rather than pretend to be something she wasn't, rather than, toe the religious line in order to have a place to stay. She chose instead to do sex work and be true to who she was. And that's a common story of people like us, women like us, throughout history. They set up this dichotomy for women. You can either be what our society has set up as acceptable. You can contain your sexuality in a way that we approve of and be treated well. Or you can choose not to. And sometimes it's not even a choice. But you can choose not to. And you can be an outcast, a pariah. It's not as bad here now as it was in the past in many ways, as it is in other countries in many ways, but it still exists. And so Ruby made that choice, that same choice that women have been making for centuries. Do I allow myself to be an outcast in order to have the closest thing I can find to personal freedom? Or do I toe the line and play the game and pretend to be something I'm not, and try and make myself into something people will treat me well for? And she had to make that choice. And she chose to be a sex worker. She chose to openly be an atheist rather than pretend to be a Christian or to kowtow to Christianity for shelter, for safety, for basic human needs. And I respect that tremendously about her. I haven't always been there for Ruby the way I would like to. But Ruby has always been there for me. And I don't forget that. She's a very sharp mind. She's a passionate woman. She's a good friend. And she's an artist. She's a writer and a poet. And she has a beautiful voice.